Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to see everybody on board. I'm just thrilled for the Psych Club and the symposium that we've put together, especially with students in mind, and wanting to get an opportunity to get to meet you guys and to see you over the next few days, and to allow you to be able to ask whatever questions you might have, to get to meet the faculty at Ashford, ask questions, introduce yourself, but more importantly, just really have a nice and relaxing and engaging symposium that we've put together these next 3 days. So just to kind of start out the introductions, I can't let this introduction go by without thanking Kate Johnson and her team for making all of this happen for us. Applause goes out to her. Poor Kate, we even had her working during her time off last week with her family during the Thanksgiving break, but she came through and has made all this possible. So we really appreciate her support and her dedication to the Psych Club and to the students and faculty as well. We have some really great presentations coming forward over the next few days, and our first presenter is already here. But I also wanted to take a moment for you students who haven't had a chance to actually see some of these faculty actually face-to-face on live video, but I wanted to take a moment to also introduce Dr. Belcher, Trevor Belcher, who is our department chair for Department of Behavioral Sciences under the College of Arts and Sciences. Trevor, are you there and would like to say a few words?
Sure. Thanks, Yvonne. Hi, everybody. Appreciate you being here for the opening session. Appreciate all the work and all the teams that came together to make it happen. And thanks, Christy. Appreciate that. Look forward to a great symposium and workshop over the next 3 days.
Thanks again. Before we get started, just kind of some little housekeeping things to remember. If you have any questions during the presentation or comments or suggestions, or please make sure and just you can put those in the chat. I know the presenters are also going to leave just a little bit of time at the end of the presentation to take any questions. We want each of you to feel very comfortable. This is a very relaxed presentations we'll see over the next few days. And again, I just cannot tell you how thrilled I am to see everybody here. I don't know why, I just can't get over that right now. I'm just so excited that each of you have taken the time, because we know you're busy. We know this is a crazy time for everyone with the holidays in store already. And we hope that you can get from this something that you can take into the new year as we go into 2020. I've been actually dying to say 2020 for a long time. I don't know why. I just like the sound of that. So we're excited to see each of you. I'm going to get on the chat here and try to welcome each of you individually, just to let you know how special it is to see each of you here. And I'm going to hand over the mic to our next presenter, who is Dr. Stephanie Anderson. Dr. Anderson is not only a faculty advisor for the Psych Club, but she is also part of the faculty for the Masters of Art in Psychology in the Department of Behavioral Sciences, and has been teaching at Ashford, what, about 6 or 7 years, or not more, Stephanie? So we're really excited to have her here and really excited for presentation. And again, please feel comfortable. Please feel, like you can ask anything you want. And the presenters, and we're here for you, and please, everyone, enjoy. Thank you so much. All right, Dr. Anderson, the floor is yours. Oh, she's muted, Kate. I think she's going to.
There I am. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I would echo Yvonne's words. I'm just so excited to see everyone here. And I hope that this is a good session for all of you. I want to start here. Let me get my screen shared. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, can you all see my PowerPoint here?
Yes.
Okay, So we'll go ahead and start this up. Okay. So I want to start, if Crystal is not here right now, she is, I think, planning to be here. So if she shows up, just Crystal jump on in, or if you see her in the chat, feel free to ask her questions too. But we're going to start you out in a really casual way here. This is a topic I think most of us can relate to on some level. So no school, don't stress, how to have fun and make the holidays meaningful with children at home. And I can say that I was able to practice what I'm preaching here the 2 days before Thanksgiving, actually. You know, kids always get off a little bit of extra time for Thanksgiving, but we had several snow days that preceded the holiday, and I wasn't quite ready for it, but it was a good time for me to be thinking about the kinds of things that I'm going to be sharing with you now, and taking note of some of the stuff that we do at our home. I will preface this also by saying that my children are a little bit younger. I have a son who is 8 and a daughter who is 4. So if your children are a little bit older, some of this may or may not apply. It seems to me that children of all ages like to have fun. So there are different ways to do it, but you know, even older kids sometimes like to join in with the littles, and the littles always want to join in with the older children. So I think that this is something that is going to be a relevant consideration for all of us. We're all feeling sometimes the stresses of the holidays when our little people are around. So it looks like I cannot see the chat. So if something pops up and you want to just break in and tell me.
And I'll watch that too for you, Stephanie, if anybody has any questions or comments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I just want to start and ask, I'm going to assume that since you're here, many of you do have little people in your lives. So if you're a parent, an aunt or an uncle, a brother or sister, whatever the case may be, what kinds of things, think about the things that stress you out this time of year. And I know for me, some of the things that come to mind, probably the top consideration after yesterday and Friday would be money and the kinds of things that we're buying to share with our family and friends. Also, I oftentimes hear people talk about family as being a really stressful part of the holidays. I'm really fortunate. And even though, I mean, of course, all families have some little things, little quirks. I don't have a huge amount of stress in that, but there is still a little bit of, there are some things to work through there. Schedules, of course, you know, things are all a little bit different especially if we're traveling, when we're spending time elsewhere. All of those things stress us out. But as a result of that, think about the kids in your lives. What kinds of things stress them out? Maybe not necessarily the same things that bother us, but when we're stressed, they feel that and they experience that too. And so during the holidays, as stressed as we might be, take a minute to just kind of sit back and think about how they might be experiencing that coming through us, and what kinds of things we can do to maybe make their experience a little more memorable for good reasons. So,
Stephanie, we have a couple of comments if you want to kind of.
I'd love to. Yes.
Okay. Christopher King says that holidays are actually a less stressful time for him. Maybe he can kind of expand on that a little bit. I know that everyone would like to hear.
Yes. If you could come on, feel free.
And also, Jessica Wilson says that her kids are older, and like Christopher, her holidays are less stressful. So maybe that older child, it kind of reduces some of that stress. And Dr. Christy McMahon, one of our faculty, says when her kids are home, they hog the internet, which makes it difficult for her to work.
Oh, my kids make it difficult for me to work, but in an entirely different kind of way. So, you know, and I'm going to jump ahead here to this slide here, just because I do want to stress that this is an interactive session. Anybody can jump in at any time and share, because I hope to learn as much from you as you might learn from me. I'm just sharing some of the things that have been useful in my experience, and just kind of providing an opportunity for all of us to talk about these different kinds of things. Now, I want to also point out that I've tested these ideas, and they are grounded in general psychological literature. I do not have references in my slides. I'm happy to go into depth about the different research that backs up some of these things. And I will admit that others are just things that I've stumbled upon and don't necessarily have a link to the literature. So if students are interested after the presentation at any point, feel free to email me, and I can give you some light reading for the holidays. So did either of those two want to come on and chat a little bit, or hold off a bit?
No, I think Christopher came back. I don't know if he wants to chat, but he said he's actually feels that Christmas month for him brings him more energy to do fun things, and he feels more active, and he is more active in the wintertime.
That is wonderful. Living in the Midwest, that is definitely not true for me. So I don't know if that may have something to do with it. For me, anyway, we're less active around here, and I have less energy. It's cold and dark, and I just want to crawl in bed and stay warm. So that is not true for me.
And Ruby Oliva says she has 5 children, so she can be stressed sometimes.
Oh gosh, yes, that definitely can do it. So these are the different areas that I'm just going to kind of go over, and I'm going to talk about sort of my examples, and then I'll have a slide at the end with a big old question mark. And that's the point where I'm hoping that folks will definitely jump into the chat. I wish I could see it, but I don't know that there is a way for me to see it while I'm screen sharing, and just share kind of your experiences in these different areas. So we're going to start with daily life. There are certain things that you have to do, and work is one of them. But beyond that, when we're home with our kiddos over the holidays, there are still other things that you've got to do. But you can make the most of it, and you can involve your children in it in a variety of different ways. So one thing that we like to do at my house is cooking. And I've got to admit, when I think about cooking, I was thinking about this as I was actually getting ready to do the presentation, and I was thinking, I have about 3 different modes. One is mommy needs to get supper ready, get out of the kitchen, stay out of my way. You're stressing me out. I've got to get this done. The second is mommy needs some time alone. I need to be in the kitchen and cook, because that is sort of a therapeutic kind of thing for me. So go do your thing and leave me in the kitchen alone. But when I take the time to include my children, we always have a lot of fun. And there are, of course, different ways to do it. I mean, I can bring them into making just the everyday kinds of things, and then I'm teaching them and engaging them. And my son has been learning about fractions, and so we've been doing a lot of baking so that he can practice that and get some real experience, with cutting butter into quarters and learning a little bit more through that experience. So sometimes it's just doing those regular things, and then at other times we do fun things. And both of these pictures of my kiddos are doing things that are more for them, that are kind of just fun experiences for them to make different things that then they can share with others. Cleaning, of course, this is something that you've got to do. I mean, there's no way to get around it. On the left is my daughter, on the right is my son from quite some time ago. And you can see in the first instance with my daughter, I was trying to clean, and all of a sudden I turn around to put my mop back in the bucket, and there she was having a great time. So we sort of turned that into a more of a fun experience, but we got the floor mopped. It happened, and she enjoyed it and was a part of it, and not just off on her own doing something while brother was gone at school at that point. And my son here, after he made this little mess, he brought his little tractor in to kind of try and clean it up. So there are different ways that you can get them involved. And yes, oftentimes it does create more of a mess, but they're having fun. And again, they're learning through these experiences. They at least are engaging with you. And that is always the most important thing to do, especially over the holidays when they're home and you do get that extra time with them. So one thing that my daughter and I really enjoy doing is shopping. My son is not the huge fan of this that we are, but shopping can be a little bit of a difficult thing, because I know I think almost every parent has the experience of a child going down the aisle and wanting every single thing that they see, especially this time of year when stores are really trying to get folks to buy. And of course, I have a limited budget and I know how much I'm going to spend, and it is not an entire aisle at Walmart or Target. So a couple of different things that I've tried with my kids that have worked really well is to just take a moment and slow down when you're in the store. And if there's something that, your child thinks they just absolutely want, for instance, these dinosaurs, my daughter just thought she had to have them. We just stopped. She got them out, set them all up, played for a little bit there, and then they went back on the shelf and they didn't have to come home with us. And it was wonderful because I can guarantee that they would not, my kids would have played with them, but I didn't need, what is that, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, $15 dinosaurs in my living room. So when my son was little, I would oftentimes, if he saw something he wanted, I would put it in the cart with him and tell him he could look at it until we were ready to go. And then we'd go put it back on the shelf. And it really did help me avoid with my kids some of those meltdowns at the last, I want it throughout the whole store. They had the thing. And by the time I was done shopping, 15 minutes, an hour later, whatever the case was, that I want it has sort of worn off and they're kind of over it and ready for the next thing. So I've managed to avoid a lot of those moments. Every now and then they really are attached to something when we get to the line. And at that point, then my second trick that I have up my sleeve is to say, well, let's take a picture of it and I'll remember that for your birthday. So my daughter has a list about this long of things that are in my phone for her birthday. So now just kind of opening it up to you all. What kinds of things are you doing in your daily lives that, you have to involve your kids in, you want to involve your kids in, you enjoy involving your kids in, especially over this time of year during break when they're home?
I just wanted to say that these are great, Stephanie, that I, for my own sanity, have to plan a couple of activities, actual structured activities each day, so that they and I can be like, oh, I'm looking forward to doing this thing. And we can, kind of get excited about doing that thing. And then it's a reason to well, let's do the cleanup song so we can go bake cookies or, move on to our next activity. But I love the taking pictures idea. We do the let's look at it and play it and touch it and, throw it in the cart. My mother always does that. She drives around and throws stuff in her cart and then decides at the last minute, do I want any of this stuff? But yeah, I love the examples of the children having fun. And I see the two mommy brains of me as that is so cute. And oh my gosh, nothing's getting done. And so having that, remembering to have that, this is a fun time, they're being silly and trying to be silly.
You're absolutely right, because there is, at the beginning of the day, you have so many things that you need to get done. And I have that same experience, or that same, like you said, the dual brains where I'm thinking, oh, nothing is happening. But I do find if I, like you mentioned, kind of plan something in or bring them into whatever I'm already doing, even though progress may be slow, those things get crossed off the list eventually. If I just kind of, send them off to do their own thing, they're constantly coming back, because what they really want is, especially younger kids, older kids, maybe that might be very, very different. But when they're younger, what they really want is your attention. And, I've found, and this sounds so minimal, but if I can give my kids 15 minutes of solid attention doing whatever it is that they want, I can go an hour or two doing whatever it is that I need to do. So sometimes just planning that in strategically throughout the day really helps get through those times. So good. Thank you. Well, we'll keep going, and we'll definitely open up. Maybe at the end, we'll have some more time to chat when we can see faces again. That'll be kind of fun. And then I'll be able to maybe see the chat. So
Stephanie, I think there was a couple of suggestions on here. Ruby Oliva says we have popsicle sticks in a jar, and every Friday with good grades and behavior, we let them pull on, and we do as it says. They pull it out, yeah.
I love that idea. That's a great idea. That is a wonderful idea. I have to admit, my kids would probably, man, my daughter would be sneaking popsicle sticks. That's really neat. That's a great idea. I'll have to use that one. So one of the things that you know, I hear frequently from my children over long periods of time when they're home, over the summer or over winter break, would be, I'm bored, I'm so bored. You know, they have a million toys lying around the house and all sorts of things that I've gotten out and prepared for them to do. But sometimes it's hard for them to kind of get started on something on their own. And so, you know, we have to kind of join in. And I'm just going to share some of the fun things that we've done that have been very popular in our house. So of course, you know, you can always play whatever games it is that they're doing, or, you know, engage with them in whatever kind of thing your child likes to do. But these are some of the things that I think are tried and true for almost any child. I'm kind of like the neighborhood mom. Other kids just kind of somehow always end up at the house, and this has worked with all of them. So I kind of just call this craft crazy. And it is, I would love to be the Pinterest mom. I am not. I am just not. I have giant closets full of crafting stuff, but nothing ever turns out. I just like the idea of it. And so one of the fun things that we do, and my kids love it every time I do this, this is kind of my go-to when we're just at our wits' end, is I just pull out random things. So you can see here, we've got pipe cleaners and popsicle sticks and clothespins and puff balls. Whatever it is that is, you know, the first thing when I reach in and grab it, I throw it all on the table. I give them some glue and scissors and let them go and tell them to create something. And I am always amazed how long they will spend and how creative they can be when they are given that opportunity, rather than, you know, here's a planned craft and this is what you do and this is how you make it look like something. Just let them go, and you'll get to see your individual children really blossom during this. So this is I don't know if it's a squid or an octopus or what. It really only has 5 legs. The pink and purple thing on the left, my daughter, who's 4, made. My son made all of the others. One is a fork family. They have forks in them. You can't really see it, but they do. So he calls them, you know, Forky, and they all have different names and just kind of fun things that they have created. And this was a pretty recent one, actually. This was over this last break. So that's just kind of one fun thing that we like to do. Another, and here we've got the neighbor kids over for this. I discovered this one on accident when I was cleaning cupboards and kids were over. And I just, you know, we just call it the taste test. And kids are always begging to do this. But I make them put on blindfolds, give them a plate. And as I'm pulling things out, just randomly give them things to try. And it requires no effort. I mean, you can try almost anything. And it can be different every time. And depending on how brave and bold your kids are, you can obviously up the ante a little bit here. But we found this really, really enjoyable. It's also a good way to find out if things are stale without you having to try yourself. So that was kind of where this originated. But that's always been a fun one in our house. So this one is Stuffed Animal Land. I don't know about you, but my kids, every time we go someplace, and my son still at 8, wants a new stuffed animal. I have so many stuffed animals, I do not know what to do with them. And you can't even really, I mean, I don't even know what to, I guess they could all go to the Goodwill or Salvation Army, but some places won't take that kind of item because they're too hard to clean, I guess. So one of the things that we discovered that was kind of fun is to do Stuffed Animal Land. I'm going to check the time here. And so what we did is we took all of the stuffed animals that we had, and you can see in the background a map of the world. We arranged them by their geographical location. So this is kind of short. I'm going to see if it plays here. I don't know if it will or not. And if you can hear it, make sure it's the right one. Yeah. This is an explanation of what happened here. Wyatt stuffed animals. So, and yes, Lily is too. We'll start with Wyatt here, who's in Loveland.
It's the ones I love.
The ones that he
That's
loves.
weird. Chicken Land. Chicken Land.
He thinks this is
Stephanie, we can't see it.
Oh, no. Okay. Shoot. Well,
Or see
shoot.
the PowerPoint.
I think you'll have to get out and then reshare. I think that's how that will work for you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then maybe I just won't do it because I don't want to take up too much time. Let me get back.
No, it's fine. You're good on time right now. It's fine.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. So you see the PowerPoint right now? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing and then reshare, but pick. There we go. Okay. So does that work?
Yes.
Okay, there we
And
go.
this is Sesame Street here, and this is Imaginaryville.
No, the monkey is super love.
Super love, okay.
Super
Here
love.
we have up here,
Super love.
we'll start here. This is the North Pole, right here. This would be Canada and Alaska. See all those bears? I never want to go to Alaska. Do you see all of those bears? So many bears. And some orcas, and a whale, and a wolf and stuff. Then here we have North America with a lot of household pets and farm animals.
Yeah,
And you can see
show
here
the
a
dairy.
wiener dog, which is Carson's house.
Show the dairy.
Oh yeah, and the dairies of California, and that would be Disneyland and Disney World over here, and dolphins in the Caribbean. This little Mexican-looking dog is right here.
Poodle.
Here we got the little things that chase Moana, because I think
Yeah,
that's
the
what
Coke
Hawaii is. And the Galapagos Islands, and here's the South American rainforest. Here would be Antarctica. One penguin, one lonely penguin. Then we come around here. Wait a minute, hold on. This would be Africa. So we've got all the African animals on the savannah.
And we have the
In Madagascar, right here, we got a spider monkey and a fossa.
don't forget about Australia, right behind you.
Did I forget Australia? Australia back here, we have a Tasmanian tiger, which is now extinct.
That's not Tasmanian tiger. It's one of the, like it's that thing that tickled Martin when he went back in time.
I can't remember what it was though, buddy.
Yeah.
But that's where we're putting it. Here we've got, so these are our African elephants with their big ears. Here are Asian elephants.
Got the zebras and the.
I know, they're out there on the savannah. And Siberian tigers up in Russia. And then over here, some Chinese red pandas and regular pandas. Then here we have Europe. Snobby looking horses, snobby looking dog. The dragons, because of course Vikings lived there. And
Mom, did you show them where all
that's that. That's the whole world in
Wait,
animals.
you didn't show them all of the dogs.
Yeah, the pile of puppies.
We have 10,000 dogs.
Okay, so I'm going to get stop share. And we're going to share again back to the PowerPoint. Back to where we were. Okay. So are y'all back to the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So that was just kind of our, that was an experience that took several hours to do and was a good learning and educational kind of time for us to kind of go through all of those different piles of animals and figure out where they all would live. So we've got some more recreations and enactments. Of course, these are the kinds of things I'm not particularly imaginative, but my kids are. So we kind of try to put together some of the things, places we've been, we recreate those kinds of things. So rodeos, state fairs, those kinds of things. We take the kids' animals at home and then we set them up. And then that way I can sort of play with them and they can use their imagination, but I have something concrete to base what I'm doing on, because otherwise I really struggle. I think as an adult, many of us, well, the educational system kind of takes some of that out of us. So I think this is a good way to build it back up and join in with them in the fun that they have. So another thing that's of course always a hit is to build something. Every time my kids build something, they want to keep it forever, put it on the mantle. Again, I kind of go back to let's just take some pictures and keep it that way. So of course you can use toys. So Legos and these magnets that are in the middle. But one of the things we like to do, in the very left-hand side, recently, a few weekends ago, I kept my nephews and I sent them all outside to gather sticks and branches and those kinds of things while I was inside making Play-Doh. And then we built some volcanoes and we put dinosaurs all around the volcanoes and then we exploded them. It was very messy, but it was so much, well, actually you can see much of the mess right there in front of my son where all of that lava went, but it's so much fun. And then we can kind of talk about, different ways that perhaps the dinosaurs may have lived their last days. So, and that's kind of a fun learning experience too. And then on the right, you can see that you can do learning and fun things with just regular household kinds of things. So a bunch of solo cups and have competitions and that kind of thing. So it doesn't necessarily always take toys. So in the middle are things that I've purchased, but on either side are not, just things that we find around the house and turn into something fun. I'm going to keep going. We'll kind of come back and let people just kind of talk when I can see your faces, because it is a little unnerving to not be able to see the chat.
Stephanie, I think we're right on here for just a few minutes left according to our schedule.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I will just kind of quickly go through this and then that way we can visit a little bit more. So when considering gifts, one of the things that research has definitely demonstrated is that experiences create greater well-being over time. And those are the kinds of things that we remember better as well. So instead of thinking about presents when you're giving, it might be worthwhile to think about being present and perhaps giving an experience, taking a trip, doing something fun instead of another piece of plastic. Also with receiving gifts, I find it really useful with smaller children, and hopefully it will pay off when they're older, to talk about, how to give and receive gifts and be very intentional about that, because it is not something that we're all equally blessed at doing. And then traditions. Decorating is always a fun kind of thing, attending different events, volunteering or donating. There's so many different opportunities this time of year. We like to fill shoe boxes to send around the world, or my kids always have fun. Every time we go to a store, they scour the parking lot for change to put in the red kettles, and it's kind of a competition. Cooking and baking, and then of course gift giving. All of those different things, if you take just a little bit of extra time and remember that you are making memories when you're doing those things. Take some pictures, but enjoy the experience. 1 or 2 pictures is all you're really going to need out of it. It's not necessarily a photo op. It's a time to enjoy each other's presence. And then of course with travel, just wanted to share, the key thing here is that the journey is as important as the destination. It always has turned out to be that way for me. Some of the best memories come from the times that we're stuck in the car together, or when we have to have a plan B when something goes wrong and it changes our plans. So I do oftentimes plan to pack activity boxes, different kinds of things for them to do other than just watching screens. I do like to kind of limit that. I find that my children are better the less that they have. So I oftentimes bring along little things for them to do in the car that they don't know about in advance. So it's kind of a fun little surprise, and have an itinerary so that I can give them expectations for how long we're going to be doing this and where we're going and when, and actually giving them that information. I think they do appreciate knowing as much as we do. But again, always be prepared for that plan B. So I want to thank everybody. And I'm going to stop sharing and hope that folks might want to just kind of, if you want to jump on and talk a little bit, or if you want to write in the chat some different kinds of things from any of those. I apologize for going through the last things so quickly, but I'm available at any time to chat more with folks. So I think I'm going to put my email in here.
That's it. Brandon is saying these are some fantastic ideas. So we thank you for that. I want to say, Stephanie, you made some great suggestions, but I also think one of the things that kind of stuck with me is the memories, kind of creating those memories that are, just going on a road trip, driving around town to look at lights, making things. I think all of those are also extremely important.
I think so too. And I found that sometimes talking about those memories helps with my children where they're young. I remind them of the different things that we've done and we talk about them. And I think that that helps solidify those memories, because I do think that that's really important.
Now, Christopher's asking, are there any ideas for adults?
Well, that's one that I don't know. I have been always the last several years so busy with my kiddos that I don't necessarily have it. I will say one fun thing that my parents did, they've done the last several years at Thanksgiving. And I would, depending on what your holiday traditions are and where you gather and how that works, grandma and grandpa take all of the children downstairs. And so then all of the siblings or whoever else is there kind of get some adult time to, sometimes we'll play cards and play games and that kind of thing. But it really is, when you have kids around crawling on you and asking questions and, you're playing parent, you're not getting that same experience. And so I'm very thankful that they've been doing that for us at Thanksgiving. They don't do it for every holiday, but they do it for Thanksgiving. And that has been great. So if you can find a way to do that, or if someone wants to take one for the team, all the kids off to the side.
I think, Christopher, also that's one of the things that you're talking about is what we've worked toward in really thinking about students and work life and school balance. And we'll have some lot of ideas for adults as we move that can also be used for children if you have them, but also for yourself and managing these holidays. So I thank you everyone for your questions. We do have another presentation coming up. Stephanie, do you have any closing words?
I don't necessarily have any closing words. I'm going to look back through all of these because you guys have shared some really wonderful ideas as well. And I thank you so much for coming and for engaging and talking. And I really hope that all of you, if you're not already in the Site Club, that you'll join. We have, hopefully some exciting plans for the new year and additional times that we'll get together again and do other things, and opportunities for you all to be potentially presenters at some point too. So keep that in mind and join us when we do some of those things in the new year.